Okay, so this meeting is July 17, 2019. We're talking about Slackbot for in context of X curriculum bot. So I guess the best way to go about this is, what have you guys found out so far?
So far, there's many ways to go about making a bot. I think we've used a couple different libraries, and now we actually have the serverless up and running as well. So
cool. I've heard concerns about Slackbot having a delay when you have a server. I've not experienced it myself firsthand, and I was the one who wrote front desk. The biggest concern that I have with a serverless bot is you're introducing another point of failure. Because when you have a serial pipeline like this, if your node instance goes down, you're dead. If now goes down for whatever reason, you're dead. But for the sake of speediness, I don't see an issue either way, whether to tell you specifically go with the bot or go serverless. For what you guys want, serverless seems to be like a beautiful thing. It'll be nice and fast. It'll be light. Concerns. So how do you guys intend on having Slackbot pop up? Do you guys just want to do like /training kit space word space word space word? Do you guys want to do training kit with a modal pop up? Do you guys want to do like interactive component? Do you guys have an idea?
We haven't really discussed that particular subject of. So we assume I didn't even know that you can have a modal pop up in Slack like that. Oh, unless you mean the physical clickable modal that usually we get like when surveys pop up and stuff like that.
Call front desk. And share your screen for the sake of the rest of us.
Sure.
Sanitize your screen first, I suppose.
Just moving things around. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
What should I ask?
Hit enter.
Okay, so yeah, this would be really nice, but how would this? So we have to think in the eyes of a Lambda student. Which
yeah, I don't know if the modal would be necessary. I guess maybe doing like an @ or a /, and then just whatever their question is would probably be most simplistic for just asking a question and getting something back.
but then maybe responses like this rather than eating up the Slack channel.
That's true too. Yeah. Also,
where would the response come up in a modal though?
It will not come up in a modal. You guys will soft whisper it, so it'll only show up to you, if that makes sense. So like it'll say, "Oh, here's your response." I think and it'll say, "Only visible by you," and it'll be like, "Item 1, Item 2, Item 3, Item 4."
But it'll still be in the channel you're in?
In the case that you invoke it using /something and either use this dialog, which is what is called in Slack a dialog, or do the argvs, so like /training kit word. Because I have, if you close this out and go to /lambda feedback, if you hit enter, it'll pop that up. However, if you hit cancel and do lambda feedback and don't actually hit enter, yep. And then if you just type words here and hit enter, it'll just send it out.
Okay.
So that's another way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we have a button then too? Because another thing they talked about wanting to implement is a way to train the model. Was this response good for you? Could we just have a yes, no in that modal, or does it just need to be a text?
That would be an interactive component. Have you guys used Geekbot?
Mm-mm.
One of you has. Who's sharing a screen? Arthur?
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on Geekbot. So do
Oh.
you see how you have the quick reply?
Yeah.
That is an interactive component. So you could just click all that and do that. Yeah.
Oh, I probably should have just done.
Yeah, Giphy is kind of like that too, where you.
And then you can do like yes, no, and maybe a way to record feedback would be like /TKBot space or dash feedback. It's not there yet because we haven't made it, of course. Yeah. So those are some things you could do with that.
Do these bots know who is talking to them and keep a log of that conversation? So if we had a feedback, like you could do /TK, ask your question, see some results, and then you see the one you like. If you wanted something different than if you just do like /TK feedback, it would know that was the last search, the one you're referring to. Does that make sense?
You would have to do that logic on your own, but because everything is recorded, like you can
pull the previous question.
Right. You will check for the last query by Slack ID.
Okay.
And then that'll come up with a bunch with all their searches, and then you can just skim for the most recent one.
And when it comes to Lambda students, how much information can we obtain through their Slack ID? For example, if I want to know that you're a CS student looking for data structures, I don't want to send you to the data science data structures training kit. I want to send you to the CS one. That makes sense?
Yes, that's harder.
We only know IDs. We don't know what class or what week they're in. You know what I mean?
Let me
Slack IDs even. I don't even think we get their name.
Let me sanitize this for you so that you can see what you could possibly get.
Can you get the Slack ID's channel names? That'd be a good way to skim for it.
Yeah, true.
You would have to be in those channels, and that would be
You'd have to invite the Lambda bot to every channel or the curriculum bot to every channel. Oh, I see.
Right.
Is there a Lambda roster? So if we get their Slack name and then use our student roster to see where they're at, it'd be kind of like a multiple step thing, but it would be helpful.
I do not think so. Give me a minute. I'm looking for users, right? API test, apps permission, apps, auth, bots, channels, chat, dialogue, D&D emoji, files.
Would that information be obtainable upon a student's first use of Curriculum Bot? Like, hey, welcome, what's your name and your course type thing? And then from then they can ask questions?
What if I wanted to learn something about UX? Specifically, how to design a mobile app, for example. I'm in the web course, but I want to learn.
Yeah, I wouldn't block you, but it would help you find more relevant stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not prohibiting you from looking at other training kits, but I'm going to try to steer you towards the more right.
Oh, you'll just assign a weight towards their curriculum.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could definitely do it that way. Yes, you could definitely do it that way. So I'm trusting you guys not to do malicious information with the information I'm about to show you.
Should I pause recording?
Yes, please. Okay, so we are hitting the users info API on Slack. And this is what we got back for me. What we had to provide to that was the app token and specifically a Slack user by their Slack ID. So this was my Slack ID, and so this is my Slack, U4KQDF6JZ. It tells me the team ID, which is the Slack instance. So in this case, my instance is lambdaschoolstudents.slack.com. My handle, whether it was deleted. So this is what all it tells us. It doesn't tell us what channel I'm in. It doesn't tell me, it doesn't say anything about that. All it gives me is just this information, my first name, my full name, and my title, etc., so on and so forth.
Yeah, it doesn't even say workspace.
Yeah, Works is replaced by Team ID here. If you,
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
if your Team ID is going to be unique to the Slack you're in.
So my next question was with that is we have another workspace for just doing all of our testing, you know, kind of making sure things get to a stable and working point before bringing it in. I'm assuming the user IDs will be different between the two workspaces.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's random enough not to have global conflicts. But do you foresee any issues that we should be thinking of developing in a different workspace to bring into this workspace?
Yes. So your problem is going to be in the case that this app is going to be used for something other than training kit. For example, any Airtable documentation that we have in any format resource, as long as they follow our format. So forget what I said about in any format. So as long as they follow your format for searching for like building sections, sprints, context, it can be applied. So what that means is either if you're going to be using one database for one Airtable instance for multiple Slacks. So for example, this would be like, if there becomes a split, it'll be us, Lambda School students. It'll be Lambda School students EU, Lambda School students Asia, Lambda School students Antarctica, you know, what have you. They're going to have different IDs. And if, say, for whatever reason, I was in Lambda School Antarctica, and now I've moved back to the States, so I want to be a Lambda School student again. You're going to have to, I don't know if you're going to do preferences or whatever, but you'll have to transfer that over somehow, maybe match by email. But then the other thing is, what was the other thing?
And really, I think we're just trying to like maintain a history for the most part. And then starting after the first 2 weeks, once the bot and the search is functional, we're looking into making a web app to extend it. So A, you can view your search history. B, like people can add, Ryan was wanting the feature to add like the ability to supplement the training kit and have people put in links to outside resources that match that topic. And I've thought maybe even as a stretch, creating a markdown section so you could link to, okay, here's where it is in the training kit, here's links other people have put, here's your own notes for this topic. But really the main thing off of that is that we want to do that just by saying login with Slack and doing OAuth with Slack. Have you ever used OAuth with Slack, and do you think we'd have the same ideas they have in Slack? So,
I've never used OAuth with Slack, but actually, no, I have. The only context I've used in OAuth for Slack is signing in a Slack bot to get different get different bot tokens for each Slack. So I don't know if what I'm saying and what you think you found are the same thing. Because if they are, then it's not for signing in the same person to multiple Slacks. It is for bots to say, here I am, give me my token. Oh, forgot to ask earlier. If I ever go on a tangent and you just want me to stop, just say so. I won't be offended. I go on tangents. Okay, so let's retrace our steps. Let's assume, in this case, whatever we fire off, we get back in a regular Slack message that's only visible to the user who invoked it. And it just says, you searched for X, result 1, A, result 2, B, results 3, C, 4, D, to 5 or whatever. In that case, what you'd be looking at, the most simple of that would be invoke, search term, right? So /tk search term or terms. After that, we would pass that request down the node sh pipe, and that goes to hit your node Python instance. From your instance, it'll come back, it'll hit the pipeline, and your pipeline will give you the result. Assuming it's just this one Slack, like you're only making this app for this Slack and you're posting it freely. If people want to modify it, they're going to have to fork it and do it themselves. The request portion should be straightforward. Sending should be straightforward. Response should be straightforward. So what you'd have to worry about more is how you're going to handle information from now to node. From your serverless to node, and how you're going to log those requests in your node instance.
Yeah, I think under the current way I'm thinking about it, like Python handles the search, already has the search API. Maybe we could extend that to just receive their, it's going to receive their question. So maybe we pass along their Slack ID with it, and we just log it to the database through that request. But I don't see a ton of reason to do like from Slack to serverless to node to Python and back through. I think like if serverless was going to handle the Slack bot service, if that's the way we decide to go, just have that be that. And that the back end, or like the node back end for the website, could also hit that same thing. Hopefully it would be able to, maybe we'll just have to have them put their Slack handle in when they register them, if signing in with Slack doesn't work through web. But still just letting Python be the main search, let it get the results and store their history.
No, finish your thought.
I think that's about it. But like I said, I don't see the need to go from Slack to serverless to node to Python and back through in those steps.
So you're suggesting nix the serverless?
Either nix the serverless or yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought anyway. Like, no reason to extend that pipe if you're going to ultimately handle that response anyways. You'd actually be adding time from the serverless to Slack and from Slack.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what I was going to say. Give me an elevator pitch of the last thing you said. There was a key in there that I wanted to bring up. Kevin.
Sure. Might have been something about registration with the front end. So like I said, we want to try to have both histories together in that web app.
Okay, yeah. So in the way the API works is it'll give you the token, and if you want to tag the user, like say like if you want to post it to everyone, share with everyone, like this person asked this, here's the result. You could go as simple as like @ symbol and then their Slack ID or some variation of that, and that will tag them. So you can, for all intents and purposes, you can consider their Slack ID, their Slack handle.
Yeah, we were messing with that a little bit with the JavaScript bot from that tutorial yesterday. When we were finding out, like I would copy his Slack ID, but before I would hit enter, like Slack would already interpret that and put their name in. So it was kind of neat.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to pause the recording for a sec, Evan? Let's wait for Daniel and Jacob. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I've been in meetings all day. All right, cool. And we're back. So let's see. That previous hypothetical was canceled because we just want to skip serverless because you're going to have to pass it to Node anyways. Okay. So in that case, you can have a stateful Slack bot, and that would make things kind of easier, in my opinion. When it comes to bots on Slack, you have a lot of choices. I am a proponent of bot kits, instance of Slack bots. It abstracts away a lot of the stupid work that you have to do. Not stupid, just the legwork of getting it set up. So BotKit is, so our first setup of bots, like not front desk, but Lambda, no, not even Lambda feedback, secret staff stuff that you guys don't get to know about. We just manually wrote, how to hit Airtable, how to hit Slack, and just did all that using Axios and, get, post, and receive and awaits. That was awful. Most of that was abstracted away by BotKit. So I'm a big proponent of that, and it is what I have the most experience with. So task 1 of your homework for the next hour is to find other possible Slack bots you want to use other than BotKit. For the most part, bots are all going to be the same. The benefit you have with BotKit is the message middleware will always be the same. It'll be user, I think even channel. Let's check. It'll be user, it'll be probably channel, it'll be team, and it'll be message. BotKit message middleware. Give me a moment to pull this up. Message pipeline. Okay, so let's shoot. Nope, wrong thing. Sure. Okay, so that goes to this. So we are at botkit.ai/docs-v0, which is version 0.7 and below. I recommend you guys going up to 4. But in version 0.7, which is what we use right now, when you get a message, anytime you see a message, you'll get from that pipeline the user, the channel they're in, the text that they sent, and whether it's a message or an event, and the raw message. So what you could do is on when you receive this message, you could also pass the channel ID. And what that would mean is the first 5 or 6 registrations will ask the user, hey, what kind of student are you? I'm a UX, I'm web, I'm Android, I'm iOS, etc. And then once you have 10 is a good, big enough sample size to say like, okay, the 4 people that said they were UX are obviously misusing the product, and you'll want to go with the high majority of the number. And so like after 10, or you arbitrarily pick a number, 10, 15, 20, and you can just assign that, oh, if it's from this channel, they're probably this, and then you don't need to ask, right? So I will find those links to the API methods and documentation that I've shown thus far at the end of the meeting. Questions at this point?
Yeah, before starting Curriculum Bot, I just got the project of creating something that could take a general question, like making the actual API, and taking a question and producing some valid answers for TK possibilities. I don't know how to deploy that API. I built it using Python and the Falcon framework, and I've tried deploying it on Heroku. I also use Spacey. You know what Spacey is, Tai? It's a NLP library that you can use, but it's kind of weird because when you're deploying, using Spacey requires you to load the model you want to use. So you have the dependency of Spacey, and then before that, you have to use like a Python command to load the model that you actually want to use into the dependency, kind of, so it's there and ready. And I just can't get it to deploy. I don't know how to fix it. So I'm having trouble with that. Kevin's done some good stuff trying to like find a workaround with it. But I just want to get that API up and running, because then once we do that, we can work on it a little better. But I don't know if you know somebody that's got some Python deployment experience.
Well, let's think of it in this way. What do I know? I know mostly about Node. What you can do with Node and Heroku is you can say, hey, so it's pre. Anytime you have a script and a pre-script, so like pre-migrations and migrations, anytime you call NR is my alias for npm run. Anytime you call nr migrate or nr migrations, it'll run the pre-script first. So in there you could invoke Python 3 blah model, and then just have it as a part of the startup, for example. Can't hear you.
Yeah, in Node.
Yes.
But with Python and Falcon, which I've never used, I used it to just do this project, but deploying it is becoming an issue. Is there do you know anything about the proc file?
Well, the proc file right now you have set up to run app, right, in the index.py, I think it is. But I think, like, if we went through and made the portion at the bottom that you usually have when you go to run it like that, if name equals main, do this, then we may be able to find a way to get the dependencies installed outside of what's in the requirements.txt. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Why don't I do this? Why don't you send me the repo, and if it's private, you shoot me an invite link, and we can. I'll put some time. Let's see. I'm taking off 5 p.m. PT today to work on front desk tonight. So yeah, let's take a look at it maybe right after this meeting, and then we'll do some research. We'll figure it out. Spend 30 minutes, and if not, I'll tap on a friend who is a senior engineer at Heroku.
What's your GitHub handle?
Tai the Tai. No spaces, no underscores.
The question: do you have any statistics or idea on how many students actually use bots, like as they're made available?
I don't. Let's put it this way. Am I still sharing my screen? No. Okay. Confidential info. I'm just. I want to look at tickets. So there's about 1,000 active students, and there's been roughly 3,000 front desk tickets. So probably 50-60% use rate on front desk. But front desk is, I mean, training kit will be even bigger than front desk because everyone wants training kit and only people who are in trouble want front desk. So expect 70% use rate as it's made available and perfected. The remaining 30% will have already read it on training kit before class starts.
All right, interesting. Bigger numbers than I thought. Cool.
Sorry. Yes. Big numbers. Total tickets, we just passed 6K5, but maybe a fourth of those are spam in one way or another, because we also receive tickets through emails and stuff. Questions? Any other questions? Okay. Any talking points that I missed that you wished I'd spoken on?
Maybe just any problems you've
Okay.
had building bots and how you've gotten around them.
Good question. So the biggest problem I had was, let's see. In building Slack bots, nothing that wasn't solved by a bit of elbow grease or documentation. Nothing big. When I expanded front desk to the other prep Slacks, I learned the hard way that for each Slack, your bot has to get a Slack token and store it. And it has to be permanent. So like if your instance goes down, you can't just ask for another token because your code will have already been used. But I mean, for one-time use, if you just listen to your bot as it gets added to your test Slack in this case, it will. You'll have to go through OAuth. Once you finish OAuth, you'll get a token for your app and a token for the bot. So XOXP is for the app. XOXB, as in boy, is for the bot. If you want to be talking, if you want to send a message either as a whisper, as a DM, or in a channel, you'll need that XOXB token. I don't think there's much else. I mean, like when you have to work with third-party APIs, you have to format it to their will and whimsy. But because you guys are running your own NLP and your own instance of Node and Python for machine learning, you guys get to decide what all that looks like. So another point to make, I guess, would be a clear delineation. So coming up with the tech docs for like, this is what I'm expecting. I expect to pass this through Slack. This is what it's going to look like from the Slack bot point of view. I get this message and I hand it off, I transform it and I hand it off to Python, I expect a certain thing from Python. I have to transform it, and I have to pass it back to Slack. So in doing that, you can clearly delineate who has to do what. So like dealing with Slack is probably the easiest part, but the part you can only do last, because you have to specify the APIs, and Slack does test to make sure that the API does work before you can actually add it to your Slack. So your biggest problem is launching your Python instance. We're tying it up with your Node instance, just having it all run on Heroku in one thing. So order of importance is probably getting the server up, then getting your API and your Slack endpoint, your Node endpoints up, and then the Slack should take 15 minutes once you've done it all. In setting up, getting the token from OAuth was annoying. But if you listen once and just store that token in your env file, you'll be fine. Don't forget your tokens are going to be different for your test environment and your Slack dev environment. So you'll want to listen in on your private Slack's team ID, and then you want to find out or go through the recording, or I can actually send you the team ID of Lambda students and use that to choose which environment key to use. Do you guys know about .env? Do you guys know about the ESM package in Node? Okay, so in React, you guys are used to import either the whole object, or you're just taking what object or function you need from that module. So like, for instance, import curly bracket space component, close curly bracket, from React. That is ESM notation. I find it to be easier to think about and figure out what I want. So you don't have to do modal.export. So you do just export function, export object, and then do the curly brace for what you need. And that is ESM notation. That requires a bit of setup, but I am much more comfortable with it, and I've been evangelizing it for a minute now. And just so you know, the setup for that is going to be node or nodemon flag require ESM, and you'll have to install ESM as a dependency. But it makes coding so much easier, in my opinion. Like, it makes it easier to understand, and it's gonna come out in the next JavaScript update.
Cool, interesting. And then just one last question I would ask. Are there any features that you think we should do that we haven't thought about, knowing as much as we know about Slackbot?
So now that I know about Curriculum Bot and Slack, secret features, like, for example, like Lambda feedback, where you can invoke it and just type what you want, hit enter, or have that dialog pop up if you don't have a message. That's just as simple in BotKit as checking if if you trim the message and the message has a length of 0, then you know they want to invoke the dialog. However, if you know that if you check message and it does already have length, you can just fire off that request to Python, and Python will come back with the answer. You'll want to have a well-defined feedback bot, way to like record and take feedback and make it actionable. So like, as it comes up, send it to Trello or Monday or Asana or whatever, and just have it as a new feedback thing and go in and check. You will, when you have a working model, or sorry, when you have a working MVP, you will want to incorporate a small group of students to test it. The sooner you can get feedback from them, the majority user, the sooner you can tweak it, and it'll be that much better before, official launch.
Yeah, we actually put in our plan this week to elicit users from training kit fixes, because we know there's a lot of passionate people about making training kit better in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But it seems like you've got all the bases covered. You've simple to invoke, simple to send feedback. I wouldn't worry about web, your web backend and your web front end, excuse me, until the app is fully polished. Because I don't need the web to get in. And in fact, if I can stay in Slack, all the more profitable, in my opinion. Because you guys are Slack bot or Slack command first, web second. Other ways of invoking, back to Slackbot. The ways that I've worked with invoking Slackbot are at Slackbot message, / command. Actually, those are the two ways. So mention or / command or DM to the bot itself. Each has their pro and con, but I think for your use case, I would lean towards the / command over at something or DM something, just because of the amount of not garbage, but like the amount of text you'll be pushing through. And the problem with DMing the bot is you have to find the bot and then DM it and look for the response. But the benefit to that is, like, you can see the last 500 things you've searched or whatever. So that's a pro and con way, actually. Or you could even do it like have it appear here and then follow up as a DM, but that could be annoying.
That was going to be one of the features of our web application anyway, was to store the search history of the user. So
cool. I think that about covers it. Questions?
Yes, one thing just to clarify real quick. So
Yeah.
after, say, they ask a question, the bot's response, where's the best place to really do that? I know we're gonna have do it like that whisper thing you said, but should we have that in the channel that they were currently in, or should we have it like as a bot, DM from the bot?
See, that would be able to safely assume. Sorry. Hypothetically, I'm assuming that students are invoking it because they need to reference it for whoever they're arguing against or wherever they're using it for.
Right.
So I imagine I would just spit that back at the channel. But you can always play it safe. You can ephemeral. Ephemeral is the word they use. It's an ephemeral message, and it can be dismissed by just that user. So the ephemeral message, you could do ephemeral message and DM would be a safe bet. And then you could also just have a preference thing, like, do you want to have a history of what you've done through your search? Maybe. You can start with assuming yes, and at the end of every message to that channel DM, be like, the way to turn this off is /trainingkit space preference. Sorry, /trainingkit space preference space message off or message on, or what have you. Does that answer your question, Modesto?
Yeah, that works. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Let's end the recording here.